OpenAI just released Agent Builder, and people are already calling it the N8N and Zapier killer. So the only way to find out is to give it a test by building something. Here's what we're going to do today. We're building a real multi-agent system, custom AI advisory board with 3 specialized members who can vote and give you expert recommendations for any business decision. This is way more powerful than just asking ChatGPT a question. We're creating agents with distinct expertise, decision-making logic, and the ability to use tools like web search. If you're new here, I'm Chris, and I break down AI tools so you can actually use them. If that sounds useful, make sure you're subscribed. All right, let's build this thing. First step, getting into Agent Builder. So step 1 is simple. Log into your OpenAI account. If you don't already have one, you can simply sign up for one for free. You'll just need to verify your email and then also add a payment information. Once you're in, look for the Agent Builder option in the left sidebar. Now, quick context on what Agent Builder actually is. Think of it like this. ChatGPT gives you one smart assistant. Agent Builder lets you build an entire team of specialists that work together. It's similar to automation platforms like N8N or Zapier, but it's specifically for OpenAI's models. You're building multi-step workflows where each agent has a specific role. So to get started, we're going to click Create Workflow. Now, when you first launch it, you'll see a little demo video popped in. I'm going to close that for now, but feel free to watch it later if you want the official tour. Now, here's what you need to know. On the left side, you've got your toolbox, all of the building blocks for your workflow. Let me walk through the important ones. To start, agent. This is your core building block. Each agent is a separate GPT with its own instructions and behavior. You can think of it like hiring a specialist. End. This defines your final output. You could make it plain text, JSON, or anything else. We'll be using this once we've consolidated our advisory board's decision. Now, note is just simply adding some sticky notes for yourself. It's useful for documenting your workflow. The file search, this lets your agents reference uploaded documents. So if you wanted your CFO to analyze a specific financial report, this is what you'd use. Now, this next one is super important. If you're building anything customer facing, you're gonna need to have guardrails. This is where you set your safety rules. You can prevent things like jailbreaks, but you can also help to filter out some of the hallucinations. So think of it like parental controls for your AI. Next, we have MCP, and this really is where you're gonna start seeing even more power in this builder. This lets you connect to external apps like Zapier. So if there's a connection that's not already built in, you can connect to another app that has the connection that you need to build a complete workflow. We have our if statements. This allows us to create decision branches. So we're gonna use this in a minute and you'll see exactly how it's used. We have while loops. This essentially just lets you loop repeatedly until a certain condition is met. Then we have user approval. This builds in kind of like a human review before finalizing the output. It allows you to keep the human in the loop. We have transform. This allows you to reshape your data into a format that you need. Then we have set state. This allows us to save information that we can use later on in other parts of our workflow. We're going to use this, so don't worry, you're going to see what this is in a minute. So that's your toolkit. Now let's actually build this thing. Okay, so we're building an advisory board with 3 members. So let's start by dragging out 3 nodes onto the canvas. Now let's set up the first one. We're going to call this our CFO. Let's click on the agent to open its settings. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call this one CFO. Pretty straightforward. Now here's where things get interesting. The instruction box is where you write your system prompts. This is how you tell the agent who it is and how it should act. I'm going to use ChatGPT to help me to write a good prompt. Let's go over to ChatGPT and we're going to use this prompt right here. Perfect. ChatGPT gave me a detailed prompt that tells the agent to act like a CFO. Focus on the numbers, financial flags, prioritize sustainable growth. This is perfect. Now all we need to do is to paste it into the instructions box over back into Agent Builder. We'll just clean it up a little bit and perfect. This is the brain for our CFO. Now for the model, I'm just going to keep it at the default, but you can switch to any other model that you want. So now to go over some of the other settings, we also have reasoning. This controls how the agent thinks before responding. We're probably going to just leave it at the default for now. Tools. Here we could add things like the web search. We're going to save this for the CFO later. Now, there is one thing that we do need to do. We want to make sure that our CFO's output is structured in the way that other agents and other nodes can actually use and understand it. So I'm going to be changing this format from text to JSON. This means that our CFO will respond in a structured format instead of just free text. text. But now that we've done that, we actually have to define what the structure is. So we're gonna add this, and I'm gonna add a property called vote, and then I'm gonna change the settings to a type enum. And an enum basically will just restrict the types of values that we wanna see. So essentially, our CFO can only choose from specific options. So the three options here are gonna be proceed, revise, or do not proceed. Now let's add the rest of the fields. We have reason, this is why they voted, next steps, what we should do next, and also any insights. So this will give us anything, maybe key numbers, key things that our agent noticed. This is perfect. It makes it way easier for us to automate everything later on. Now that we got this all set up, let's just test to make sure this one node works. So to enter the test, I need to go into preview, and then I'll type in, let's say we're gonna try to start a donut shop. Perfect. Let's see here. It looks like the CFO has voted that we need to revise. And it even gave us a detailed reason and also some next steps. So this is perfect. That means that our logic is working. So we got one down, we got two more to go. Now we want to build our chief marketing officer. This agent needs to evaluate the decision from a marketing and sales perspective. Things like target audience, positioning, competitive advantage. That's what this agent needs to focus on. I'm going to go back to ChatGPT and just quickly, I'm going to ask it to modify the CFO prompt and now create a CMO version of it. Great. Now let's just copy this and let's paste it into the second agent's instructions. And we'll also make sure that the format is going to be JSON, and we'll add in the exact same things that we had before: vote, reason, next steps, and we'll say marketing insights for this one. Now here's something important. We don't want our agent to be evaluating what the CFO's decision was. We want it to evaluate the original question that we were asking it. So watch how we do this. I'm going to click the plus sign to add now another type of prompt. We're going to add the user prompt. Remember that the system prompt tells the agent who it is. The user prompt would be essentially what the user is asking. Now that we have this here, I can now reference our original chat and make sure that our CMO is only using that information to make its decisions. Perfect. Now that this works, let's test out the workflow to see if it's working. Awesome. So the CMO voted we need to revise it. It even mentioned that we need to do something with SEO. This is exactly what I would expect from somebody that's in marketing and sales. But this actually creates something interesting. What if the CFO voted that they wanted to revise and the CMO said that they wanted to proceed? Well, this is where it gets fun. We need a way to handle disagreements. If the CFO and the CMO agree, we're good. But if they disagree, we need a tiebreaker. And that's where the CEO comes in. But we only want to use the CEO just for the tiebreaker. We don't want to use the CEO if the CFO and the CMO already agree. So how we do that is we use a conditional. So I'm going to drag the if node onto the canvas. This lets us create a decision branch. So if X is true, go this way. If not, then go that way. But here's the problem. Right now, we can't actually compare the CFO's vote to the CMO's vote because their outputs kind of disappear after it's run. We need a way to save that information so that way we can reference it throughout our entire workflow. That's what set state is for. It's like giving your workflow a memory. Let's add one for the CFO. I'm going to create a variable called CFO vote. Now I'll map it to the CFO's output. Now that the CFO's vote is saved, let me do the same thing for the CMO. Perfect. Now both of them are saved. I'm also going to save the reason, the insight, and next steps for both agents so we can reference this later on. So let's do that now. Now let's set up the logic. I'm going to connect the CMO to the if node. Let's click on the if node to configure the condition. Here's what we're checking. If the CFO's vote equals the exact same thing as the CMO vote, then they both agree and we don't need to involve the CEO. But if they don't match, then we need the CEO to break the tie. So to do this, I'm simply going to set the condition to the CFO vote equals the CMO vote. If that's true, we'll completely skip the CEO and go straight to a summary agent. But if they disagree, this is where it gets interesting. The CEO agent needs more power than the others. So let's build the actual CEO. This agent will need to review both the CFO and the CMO's reasoning, do additional research if needed, and then make the final call. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add the web search tool. This is huge. It means the CEO can look up real-time information before making a decision. Now I'm going to go back to ChatGPT to create the CEO prompt. So let's do that with this. Perfect. The CEO is strategic, data-driven, and has the authority to overrule both the CFO and the CMO if needed. So now we just need to set up the prompt so that way the CEO can see what the CFO and the CMO said. Perfect. Now that the CEO has the full context, it can see both votes, both reasons, and also it can search the web if it needs more data. One last thing. So if the CFO and the CMO agree, we don't need the CEO, but we still want a clear summary. So I'm going to add a fourth agent and we're going to call this one administrative assistant. The only job of the administrative assistant is to just consolidate the final decision into a final report. So this agent will just take the CFO and the CMO's reasoning and just write a clear actionable summary. And finally, I'm going to add the end node so that way we have a clear final output no matter which path the workflow takes. Now it's time to see if this thing actually works. Let's enter in the same question. Watch the workflow execute. CFO is analyzing, vote save, CMO analyzes, vote save. Now it's checking the if they agree. So the workflow skips the CEO and goes to the administrative assistant for a summary. And now let's take a look. Perfect. This is a consolidated decision with financial and marketing insights plus actionable next steps. That's a fully working AI advisory board. Re-exports, decision logic, and structured outputs all built without writing a single line of code. So now, will this replace Zapier? Right now, I don't think so. I believe the intent isn't to replace those tools, but to be used with them. Right now, we're limited to what the workflows can do based on the available MCPs. Zapier actually has their own MCP that we can connect to, which when used with the Zapier connection can make this super powerful. The possibilities really are endless. Now, if you want me to build more of these different use cases, different industries, let me know in the comments. If this tutorial was helpful, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It helps us support the channel. And if you like this video, you're gonna want to click on this one right here.